Today's readers and critics love a diverse cast of characters, and who can blame them? It's a more accurate representation of the world we live in. But sometimes, as an author, it can feel like a bit of a minefield, with so many people being overly critical whenever you attempt to write someone who's not exactly like you. So today I want to talk about representation in creative writing, how to write minority characters. Really, what it comes down to when you're writing someone who is not like yourself is you need to be respectful, do your research, and twist some tropes. If you're not sure who qualifies as a minority in literature, check out my other video, How to Cast Your Story, Who Are the Minorities in Books. This is Ignited Ink Writing, a channel dedicated to helping authors like you transform your writing so it lingers with your readers. Because writing that lingers gets remembered and recommended to others. I'm Caitlin Burvey, editor and writer. Let's start with twisting tropes and archetypes to add minority characters. Readers love the same but different. We like that familiar quality to a piece, but we don't want to feel like we're reading the exact same story again. This is an excellent opportunity to provide a twist with minority characters. For example, how many times has the school for kids with magical or special abilities been done? A lot. But Jeremy Scott put his own unique twist on this story in The Ables by writing about the special class. His characters are blind and have telekinesis, wheelchair-bound yet can read minds, have Down syndrome, and are super fast. Often their abilities seem to be at odds with their disability, making it even more challenging for them to be superheroes. This is an excellent example of how you can take a well-known trope in your genre and twist it to include minority characters. Now, I do want to say there is one caveat I have to recommending this book, and that is the female characters only exist either to populate the story or to motivate the male characters. They're not well developed or present at all. So read The Ables for ability diversity, not for gender diversity. When you twist a trope in this way, you're challenging your reader's expectation of the story. So you're giving it that familiar quality by doing something similar to someone else, but you're also making it unique because the conflicts and situations that your characters will face are going to be very different from the ones that the traditional characters of that trope might face. So think of some of your favorite tropes or archetypes when it comes to characters. Do you love the wizened old mentor? What about a Cinderella retelling? Or a down-on-his-luck private eye? Now, what happens if you rewrite that wizened old man as a 30-year-old Hispanic woman and she's the mentor? What if, instead of falling for the prince, Cinderella falls in love with the princess? And what if your down-on-his-luck detective is missing a limb? By making one of these traditional archetypal characters a minority, you're going to completely change the story, while at the same time keeping it the same. That's what readers mean when they want the same but different, and that's how you can add minorities and uniqueness to your story. So this is just one way you can include minorities by twisting tropes and archetypes. Next, let's talk about researching to write minority characters. If you're writing a character different from yourself, especially a minority, remember that you have not lived their life. You cannot rely on your personal experience to write and develop that character. That's where research comes in, especially if you're using a politically charged or minority character. When I write these characters, I rely on people in my life to help me because I grew up in New Mexico, a place that's very diverse. I have a lot of friends who are open and willing to help me craft these characters. So I go to them. I'll buy them lunch, we'll talk about the character I'm creating, and whether or not I'm on the right track with it. If you're going to do this, make sure you pick people in your life who like to do this, who are open and honest people and are interested in your writing. Don't just ask everyone you know who falls into that minority group, because not everyone is open to this sort of research. You can also hire sensitivity readers, which are people who fall into a certain minority category and read books to help authors better develop those characters and situations. Other than that, of course, you have the internet and books to rely on. So if you're writing a character who's from India, look up what they eat in the morning. Look up their customs and morals and how they're different and similar from wherever your story is set or from your own. Research is where many authors get into trouble when it comes to writing minority characters. They either don't want to put in the time and effort, or they think they've done enough when they really haven't. So if you're writing a character who falls into a certain minority group, and that minority part of who they are is not a major part of the story, it's just a part of their identity, you might not have to do quite as much research. But if that minority quality is a major plot point or a major point for their character growth, you're going to have to do a lot of research to make sure you do it correctly. Also, if you're writing a short story, you might not have to do as much as if you're writing a novel or a series with that character. Same thing if it's a minor side character, you're not going to have to do nearly as much research as if it's your main point of view character. So ask yourself things like, does your character happen to be overweight? Or is their weight a central theme or plot point for conflict in the story? Different levels of research. Is your character going to be present through the whole story or just for the one scene? Different amounts of research are needed. And remember when you're writing these characters to be respectful. These are people who are not like you, so you can get in trouble if you're casting them in a bad light. We don't want to do that. If you're writing a truly terrible character, that's not the character you want to try experimenting with writing other people on. Also, as I mentioned in a previous video, characters are more than one thing. Whatever your character's minority is, that is not all there is to them. We are complex as human beings, and so should your characters be. They're going to have lots of different characteristics and qualities. They might fall into more than one minority group. So make sure you're developing fully fleshed out three-dimensional characters. Next, I want to share an editor's advice for writing minority characters. One way to infuse your story with a diverse cast is to pick a place that is naturally diverse. For example, I'm from New Mexico. There we are a third white, a third Hispanic, a third Native American. So simply by setting my story there, I have to include at least those three races, probably more, because that is an accurate representation of that place. Now, if my characters are from a tiny village somewhere, they might not have every single type of minority represented, whereas a big city, you're going to find pretty much someone who fits into any minority group there. Now, I'm not saying that small towns are not diverse. I'm just saying they don't have as many characters, so you might not be able to represent literally every minority category that you can think of. And remember, you don't have to write characters who are super different from you if you don't want to. It's your story, they're your characters, you get to do what you want with it. But if you want to accurately represent certain places, appeal to more readers, and make sure your characters don't all seem the same, you might want to work on including a diverse cast in some capacity. So how do you write diverse characters? Share your process in the comments below. And for more videos on character development and other aspects of writing, subscribe to Ignited Ink Writing, a channel dedicated to helping authors like you transform your writing so it lingers with your readers. Because writing that lingers gets remembered and recommended to others. I'm Caitlin Burvey, editor and writer. To find out more about me, go to www.ignitedinkwriting.com. There you will also find a point of view comparison chart. Point of view is a key part of your character's development, so make sure you pick the best one for your story. And if you want to see how I approach writing diverse characters, check out my book, When Magic Calls, a collection of modern fairy tales. You can find this most places books are sold, in paper, ebook, and audiobook formats, including my website, caitlinburvey.com. And now it's your turn to twist tropes and archetypes, be respectful, and do your research when writing minority characters to ignite your ink.